All right, guys, welcome back. So we're going to talk about perfect squares' relationship between the side length to the area of a perfect square. Now listen, you have to know the relationship between the side length and the area of a perfect square. You're not going to be able to make it through this next unit. You're not. Okay? So let's look at number one. Okay, on number one, you're given the side length. How many sides are on a perfect square? 4. So one of the things I want you to understand is we're not talking about right now the perimeter is adding up the sides. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how many perfect squares, how much was the area, what's the center, what's the surface area of this perfect square. So if your side length is 4, you're simply going to take 4, hit your x squared, hit enter, and that's how many perfect squares make up that perfect square. That's 16, just like we saw in our notes. So you're going to say 4 squared. You can write it like this. If your side length is 4, 4 squared is your 16 yards squared is your area. Now, if you're given the area, on number 2, we're given the area. It's typically written in the middle of the square, and the indicator is this. You see the little 2 right there? If you see 2, that means it's talking about area because area is 2-dimensional. You're always going to have to multiply 2 numbers to get the area of any shape. That's why a little 2's there. In this case, it's perfect square, so it's going to be the same number. The reverse is true as well. If I give you the area, you're going to go this way, go backwards to find the side length. The inverse of x squared is this little blue button right there. It's called the square root. We've done this before. Because it's in blue, you have to hit the blue button first and then hit the x squared, and that's going to give you the square root house. You type in whatever the area is and you hit enter to get the side length of that perfect square. So in this case, the side length is 3. So you come in here and you say, okay, 3. The area is going to be written in the middle of the perfect square. The side length will be written where it says side length, or you can write it along the line as long as you understand. So on number 3, I'm given the side length. So I'm simply going to quickly say 5.2 x squared. My area is 27.04. Write it somewhere where you can check it, 27.04 inches squared. Why is it squared? Because it's the area. What 2 numbers did we multiply? 5.2 times 5.2. All right. Okay, let's turn it over. Let's look at number 14. So here I have 21. And it's asking me what is the side length. Okay, so you're going to get your square root house, blue x squared, to get that square root house, put in 21 as the area, and let's figure out what the side length is. Now see how you got this long, crazy number right here. Okay, so you're going to write the long, crazy number 4.582557, and on this particular row, it's asking you to round to the nearest tenth. Okay? We haven't talked a lot about rounding, but you have to understand that tenth is where the 5 is. It's the first number after the decimal. Why? Because that's where your dimes are, and dimes are worth 10 cents. That's why they call it the tenths. So if rounding to the 5, you're going to circle the number after it and draw an arrow back. Is that 8 big enough to change that 5? Yeah, it's going to become what? 4.6, and that's your side length. So you can do that across that row. Let's look down here. This one's asking you to round to the nearest hundredths. So let's take 11 is our area. Get your square root house in. Type in your area to get the side length and hit enter. Here's your side length, 3.3166. So 3.3166. And now it's asking you to round to the nearest hundredths. Hundredths is the second number after the decimal, and let me tell you why that is. That's because there's 100 pennies 100 pennies in a dollar, and that's the penny. This number is the penny. How many pennies are in a dollar? 100. That's why it's called the hundredths. So and 9 times out of 10 for this year, you're going to be asked to round to this spot right there, the hundredths. You've already seen that on your test. Circle the number after it and draw an arrow back. Is that 6 big enough to change that 1? Yes. So my actual rounded to the nearest hundredth, the side length is 3.32. Please let me help you. Raise your hand if you have any questions. Let me come around and help you right now.